wrong. Like, it felt wrong for the Washington Post to put me in that position. They didn't check with me, they didn't ask me, how do you identify? How do you see yourself? Like, that was never asked. And I realized that, like, this experience was, like, so important for me to understand the experience of people that came before me, of not being asked. Your opinion of yourself is not even considered. It was decided for you, and how that felt. Hi, I'm Danielle Romero. Thank you so much for being with me here on my channel, where we talk about American identity and family stories. And during COVID, I had a little bit extra time on my hands, and I decided I wanted to write an article. And I don't know, I just started writing this article, and it was about my 5th great-grandfather who was born enslaved, and he sued for his freedom, and he won. And this was in 1822 in Louisiana, and I've talked about him a lot on this channel. And I wrote the article, and I decided to send it, like, to submit it to places. And so one of the places I submitted it to was the Washington Post. And there's like an email thing on their website, like a form you can submit. And so I submitted it, and to my shock, I heard back from the Washington Post, and they're like, we would love to publish this, and we had to go into this whole editing process. But I was pretty shocked when it came out. It came out in a hard copy and online. The way that my story was packaged, because the Washington Post, the way they packaged it, I was actually almost too embarrassed to show my friends and family, because I felt like it looked like I was trying to be something I wasn't as an African American. And I don't identify as an African American. So let me tell you what happened. So I was really excited to share this story. So my 5th great-grandfather, Noel Condi, was born to slavery in Louisiana in 1800. And when his master passed away, part of the deal of his bill of sale was that he was supposed to be emancipated upon the death of his original master. So his original master had sold him to another man, and then the agreement on that was that when the original master passed away, I believe, or maybe it was the second one, I can't remember now, that Noel was supposed to be freed. Well, the master passes away and nothing happens. And the guy that's running the estate at this point, the executor, is like not being responsive and just not really interested in giving him his freedom. So he took it into his own hands and he brought them to court, which is incredible. And he sued for damages too. And he won. Like, it was amazing. And then he also paid for the freedom of his 6-year-old daughter later on, Marie, who is my 5th grandmother. And so writing this article, this was like the first time I was putting my family story out into the world publicly like this. Like, this was a big deal to me. I was so honored I had the opportunity to share it. I wanted to get every detail right. I wanted to make sure that it was just, I don't know, I wanted it to be perfect. So I submit the article, I get okay, yes, we want to publish this. And then I receive an email from the editor I was working with, and made me stop in my tracks. Because in the article, I describe my mother's grandmother. She's from Louisiana. This is her family story. And so they ask, can we call your great-grandmother Lola Black? I remember pausing, because, like, this was not a simple question for me. First of all, I had never met my great-grandmother. Secondly, she didn't identify as Black. I believe people saw her as all kinds of things, but as far as I knew, what I was told by my grandmother and my mother, she didn't identify as Black. And so, she had this blend of, she was Creole and Hispanic, and I don't know in her heart of hearts how she saw herself. I will never know that. But I didn't feel like it was really my job to be like, yes, call her Black. So we went back and forth a little bit, and so they decided, okay, we respect the nuance here. How about we call her like a person of color or woman of color? I was like, okay. But then when I saw the article published, I saw the headline, I was like, I think something is very wrong. And I wasn't sure what to do with it. So when I opened the article, I actually have the article on the wall. I'm going to show it to you. And See if you can figure out why I was so stunned. So I have it on the wall. I'm very proud of it. And I'll put it up on the screen too. So it says, what to the African American is the 4th of July? And that's actually a quote from Frederick Douglass, if you don't know. And down here, oops, here's my article. I was a part of something. So they didn't tell me that it was going to be this big, there's kind of a reflection on that, sorry. But they didn't tell me that it was going to be this cumulative like reflection, like lots of people were included in this, which is fine. I love it. But one of my friends like knew I was doing this and I told her, it's Family Live. She's like, can I see it? I was like, okay, but I need to explain something to you. Because I just felt so ashamed not to be included as African American, because like if I was raised with that, I'd be proud of it. But I wasn't raised with it, and it felt wrong for the Washington Post to put me in that position. They didn't check with me, didn't ask me, how do you identify? How do you see yourself? Like that was never asked. I don't know. I felt shocked. I felt like people were going to see it and think that I was trying to be something I wasn't. Like people who knew me in real life were going to see it and be like, well, that's not, that's not her life experience. That's not who she is. And I had no idea, like the thing is out. And so it was really bittersweet because I was so excited to have the story shared. And then I see it and I'm like, can I even share this? Like, I don't know what to do with it. But then I was thinking more about it and I thought, what, this is actually not a special thing happening to me. This is actually something that has been happening for a long time to lots of Americans and lots of people around the world. Racial identities have often been determined by people in power. People aren't stopping to ask, how do you feel about this? How do you see yourself? I mean, it was not until I think the 1930s, 1940s that the US census takers actually asked you, and how should we write down your race or whatever? How do you see yourself? And I realized that like this experience was like so important for me to understand the experience of people that came before me, of not being asked. Your opinion of yourself is not even considered. It was decided for you and how that felt. And in this case, the consequences are not life altering like they would have been for our ancestors. But it was a good experience because it gave me perspective that I didn't have before. And I think especially for Creoles or people of multi-generational mixed groups, the issue of identity has always been complicated like this. So when I saw the headline, I was thinking about it like for myself, but then I got kind of a bigger picture about it of, well, this is the same narrow lens that has been used for centuries of just deciding this is who you are. Let's take a step back and talk about why this is so important for you, why this is so important and relevant for those who are doing their family history, doing family stories, or even just interested in history in general, because history is about people, right? There's no history without people. It is so important to learn how to control our own narratives. It is a gift to be able to do that, especially in a world that wants to label. Labels can be so powerful. They can also be empowering. But when labels are imposed by others, they can be limiting. You get that sense of having your complexity be erased. This assumption that if you had an ancestor who was enslaved, who was considered Black, then you must be identifying as Black today, or you must be African American today. And I was like, well, I guess that's probably the way people see it. Like, they don't really know the nuance and the complexity of so many of our family stories. And like I said, if I had grown up with that label, great, I use it. You know what I'm saying? But, and it makes me think about, what Frederick Douglass was saying here. He's saying, well, what to the African Americans the 4th of July? He's saying, like, when you have people who are disenfranchised, how are they celebrating freedom? And it was just interesting to me now to kind of have it turn on its head where it's like, and now I'm included in this article about that, looking like this. And it just made me think America is such a beautiful place. And I know other places are like this too, but I feel like we have so much complexity, so much nuance that I don't know what the other people look like who submitted for this, but I bet they don't look exactly like me. And I think that's beautiful. And so it was good. It was a good learning experience to reflect on what does it feel like to have other people identifying you and telling you where you fit in. It's not a good feeling. So let me know what you think about this. What you think about this. I'm super curious. It's the first time I've ever talked about it publicly because I've been kind of embarrassed. Uh, I always have the imposter syndrome where I'm worried that I'm like in a space I don't belong or I'm saying things I shouldn't say. And so that's what has been really empowering for me to just tell the truth. Like, here's the truth. Here's what happened. Here's my family story. Here's what happened with this. And just let it stand on its own. If you would like to do a little bit more work on your family story, I will leave a link below in the description where you can go to newyorktonashville.com. I have a couple of free downloads that I made for sitting down and getting ready to save your family story that have been super helpful for me. I hope they're helpful for you. Otherwise, let me know what you think, and we'll talk soon.